Namaste. Welcome to the History Bug channel. What we are attempting to do through the course of these video series is an attempt to understand IGCSE paper code 0470, option B, 20th century international relations after 1919. What each video will look at is looking at the broad question, breaking it down into certain key questions. Each video will attempt to answer at least two key questions, followed by discussion of an exam style question. These exam style questions can be picked up from paper 1, 2 or 4. We will also be discussing coursework in detail in the subsequent videos. So stay tuned and let's start. The first topic for our discussion are the peace treaties of 1919 to 23. Understanding or evaluating whether they were fair or not is the last question that we'll be dealing with. First and foremost, we must understand the context. What was the world doing at this time? 1914 to 18 is the time of the First World War. First World War ends in 1918. Can you tell me who were the victors and who were the losers? Put it down in the chat box. Okay, so 1918 is the time when the World War I has ended. It has brought about revolutions in some countries, great economic destruction in some, loss of human lives which are statistically very, very high. Overall, there's use of very, very powerful weapons and an atmosphere of bitterness and resentment. In this charged atmosphere, the peacemakers, in fact, have a very, very difficult task. They have to balance it out. They need to satisfy the victors with the terms of the treaty, as well as make sure that the treaties are not so harsh as to appall the people who have lost. Were the peacemakers actually able to do that? Can any peace treaty be considered justified according to its times? Or can it be considered fair is a question that we'll be looking at in the last part of these lecture series. So what are the key questions that we'll be trying to understand? They'll be related to the content in order to assess our knowledge and understanding. And last, an application of whatever we have understood. The first key question is, what were the motives and aims of the Big Three? Second, why did the victors not get everything that they wanted? Third, what was the impact of the peace treaty on Germany till 1923? And fourth, were the peace treaties fair and justified at the time? Let's look at the first key question. However, before we start with that, we need to familiarize ourselves with the content. We need to understand the treaties that were signed. The Treaty of Versailles being the biggest of all, and other smaller treaties which dealt with other countries that had lost. So for Treaty of Versailles, the acronym that you can remember is GARGLE. G stands for guilt. Article 231 or the War Guilt Clause, which laid the blame of starting the war on Germany. It was also called the Diktat. A stands for arms restriction. The army in Germany was reduced to 100,000 soldiers. Navy was reduced and Air Force was completely forbidden. Rhineland was demilitarized and conscription was banned. Do you know the meaning of conscription? Why don't you take a minute and Google it? Third is about reparations. 6.6 billion pounds had to be paid to the victors. Next is the loss of German territory like Alsace-Lorraine to France, Danzig to Poland, and other parts to other victors. Last stands for League of Nations, which was also an important aspect of Treaty of Versailles. Though this is the bigger treaty, we must not forget that there were several other treaties that were signed and must be remembered from the exam perspective as well as for our general understanding. If a question asks you about the peace treaties of 1919 to 23, you must remember to include and talk about these other treaties in your answer. For instance, the Saint-Germain Treaty with Austria in 1919. Again, we're talking about Anschluss, man. What do you mean by an Anschluss? This is something you can Google. Imposition of reparations, reduction of army, loss of territory, and resulting loss of industrial land as well as displacement of population. Similarly, Treaty of Trianon with Hungary, 1920. Treaty of Neuilly with Bulgaria in 1919. Again, we are talking of economic crisis, of loss of land, displacement of population, reduction in army. Treaty of Severus with Ottoman Empire in 1920 and Treaty of Lausanne with Ottoman Empire in 1923. You can read these details when I upload the PPT at the end of the lecture series. Now we come to our first key question. How happy were the big three? But before we answer this question, we need to understand who are these big three. The big three stands for the three main leading figures who decided the course of the peace conference that happened in 1919 to 23. First is Woodrow Wilson from US, second is George Lloyd from Britain, and third is Clemenceau from France. What is it that the three wanted? Did they represent public opinion? Did their views change with the public opinion? And were they able to get everything that they wanted? Let's see. First, let's discuss what Clemenceau wanted. Now, France had suffered a great deal, starting right from 1870, and now the First World War. It had lost land, it had lost a lot of human lives, and they really wanted a punitive peace treaty as well as compensation for the losses. What France wanted at this time was that Germany be broken into smaller confederations, an independent Rhineland, as well as permanent control of Saarland. However, in the course of the treaty and the course of the peace conference, they figured out that all of these were not possible to the T. What did Wilson want? Woodrow Wilson was an idealist. He wanted to punish Germany, but not so harshly that Germany would want revenge. Also, it was mindful about what had happened in Russia. 1917 Bolshevik Revolution had just taken place, and he did not want Germany to turn into a communist state under all the pressure. He wanted to strengthen democracy according to his 14 points. He wanted disarmament for all countries and not just Germany. He wanted League of Nations so that all international participants and every dispute can be resolved at an international level through negotiation. He wanted self-determinism for countries in Eastern Europe, apart from other things that were also part of his 14 points. Did he get everything that he wanted? Was he really an idealist? Was he able to push through? Let's see what else he wanted and the problems with his ideas. For instance, if we talk about disarmament, Germany did disarm, but it was under pressure, and no other country disarmed as per Wilson's wishes. The second problem was with self-determinism. People of Eastern Europe were scattered across many countries. For instance, 25% who lived in Czechoslovakia were neither Czechs nor Slovaks. Similar case was with Poland and Hungary. So some people would ultimately be ruled by groups of people who did not have their language or ethnicity and followed different customs than them. So self-determinism itself was a very tricky idea. The problem with the League of Nations, which was one of the main ideas in his 14 points, was that it was a truthless organization. It did not have a military of its own. Sanctions were seen, or mandates were seen, as a colonialist idea. Also, membership. Did all countries join it? Did it have backing of all powerful countries? The idea of LON will be dealt in the next topic that we'll be picking up. What did George Lloyd want? George Lloyd was in fact a mediator. He wanted a punitive punishment. However, he did not want the punishment to be as harsh as France. They did want restrictions on army and navy, which it did manage to get. But they did not want to be so harsh so that Germany would seek revenge again. Also, they wanted to recover as much trade as possible because trade was an essential factor which created jobs for the British as well. So they wanted to, protect their own interest in Germany. Clemenceau wanted an extremely harsh treaty. Did he get everything? Well, he got limited compensation and military restrictions, a unified Germany, and a demilitarized Rhineland. He felt that these were not harsh enough, and it was more to do with the kind of interests that Britain was also trying to protect in Germany. Clemenceau felt that Britain was in fact trying to protect its own interest, and the fact that Germany had impacted France and US and Britain were not as badly impacted as France also caused a lot of resentment. Wilson wanted his 14 points to be the basis of the treaty, but they were clearly not, as we can see in the War Guilt Clause. He successfully established self-determinism in Eastern Europe and League of Nations. Demilitarization was not achieved to the level that Wilson wanted. Britain wanted a compromise peace. They were happy with the kind of restrictions that were placed on the army and the naval forces that were restricted. Lloyd was, in fact, welcomed as a hero back in Britain. Although the spread of communism was still a factor that was concerning Britain at this time, and they did want Germany to rise up as a buffer state against USSR. So, what are the key questions that we dealt with? First, we tried to understand the content. You need to know certain things. First, the acronym GAGL. What does it stand for? What are the various clauses of Treaty of Versailles? What are the clauses included in all other smaller treaties? Next, you need to know who were the big three, what were the aims, that is, what did they want, and ultimately, what was it that they were able to get? Did it cause resentment? Were they happy with it? Were they not happy with it? These are the broad ideas, and content-wise, analysis-wise, you must know these. Let's move to discussion of an exam-style question. There are 3 papers that you are expected to attempt. Paper 4 is in lieu of coursework. You can either choose to do coursework or you can do paper 4. It depends on the choice that your school has made. Let's start with paper 1. Paper 1 has 3 sets of questions that you are expected to attempt. There are options available from your core study and 2 options available from your in-depth study. You are expected to attempt 2 sets of questions from your core and 1 set of questions from your in-depth study. The pattern of this question sets follows 4 marker, 6 marker, 10 marker. So totally the paper is for 60 marks. Let's look at what is expected when you're writing a 10 marker. Sorry, a 4 marker. So the first question, for instance, if we have from paper 1, part A, which is the 4 marker, what features of the Treaty of Versailles were shared by the other peace treaties of 1919 to 23? Now, you can either give 4 separate points or you can give 2 points with added examples. That is, a point will be awarded for each of the points that you do not develop and 2 marks each for the developed points. How do you develop a point? For instance, for a 1 marker, or if I'm choosing to write 4 relevant points, I might write that the Treaty of Versailles and the other peace treaties placed military restrictions on the nations they dealt with. I will get 1 mark. If I want to add to this point, I can use phrases like, for example, in addition to, furthermore, moreover. Let me develop this very same point for you. If I have to say the Treaty of Versailles and the other peace treaties placed military restrictions on the nations they dealt with, for example, the Treaty of Versailles limited the German army to 100,000 soldiers and the Treaty of Neuilly restricted the Bulgarian army to 20,000 men. I will get up to 3 marks for this point itself. It's a 4 marker. So with this, we will end this discussion. Our next video will lead us to a discussion on the other 2 key questions and discussion of a 6 and a 10 marker. See you!